And with that, I think we're live. How are you, Ren?
Oh, I induced pain upon myself.
Oh, did you now? In what way?
I was gonna do a bit for starting off the episode, but then you just started off the episode anyway.
I mean, I mean, I haven't done my intro yet or anything. If you want to do the intro, by all means.
Oh, okay. So we'll just like do a second take and then we'll just edit it out, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. Hello, internet, and welcome to Best Girls, the smartest show in game.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I just decided to list fucking game theory for like 2 seconds.
Holy shit. Okay. God, that Five Nights at Freddy's movie is really getting to you, isn't it?
I just wanted to do something that would bring you pain.
I mean, you know how to do that best. Well, then, so what are we talking about today?
So,
Well, first off, who are we and what is this and why are we here?
sorry, might be. Take three. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Best Girls Podcast. I am your host, Ren Best Girl. Joining me today is our lovely, lovely other host, the one, the only, Jade Novanis.
Jane Novanis. I know her from Twitch. Fuck, I wonder when she's going to be here. You know?
Wait, you're not her? Who the fuck are you
Oh
then?
fuck. I've been found out. I've been had. Well,
Anywho,
anywho,
so today, what we're going to be talking about, let me set the stage.
like the
Jade,
boss stage or what kind of stage?
like the stage trap, like the pitfall, like in a classic theater.
Yes. Like that. Perfect. Let us set the stage.
So, Jade and I have been on a real Pokemon Unite kick lately. And I got to thinking, hey, what if Pokemon Unite, but better? And by better, I mean with Jade Novanis lore characters instead.
And Ren lore. We can't forget about Ren. Ren keeps calling this my lore is MOBA. But half the cast is hers too.
Listen,
So this is the Biblioanima and Cycle of Stars MOBA.
listen. It started off with just your lore. That was the catalyst, me wanting to do more with your characters and expand upon them and see them and flesh them out in my head and just see them do cool shit in my head.
I mean,
My
fair.
characters were my characters were just there to flesh out the roster because, well, a MOBA with only like 10 characters or so is hardly a MOBA.
Wow. I see. Give me a sec. Ugh. I'm setting something so at least for those who are watching, at least there'll be some degree of references cycling at the bottom of the screen.
Mm.
So I'll have the reference images going for some of the characters at the very least. But yeah,
Mm.
shall we get started, Ren?
I suppose we shall.
All right, moving over to this window. For those watching, you guys are gonna get a visual experience for once in a while. For those in audio, we will do our best to. Obviously, we will be talking about most of this, so you guys won't really be missing out on much. But yeah, so we have started to work a little bit on like the skeleton of it, for the time being. So at the moment, we have a couple characters. So the first set, here is all primarily my characters. So we have myself, Jade Aelith Novanus, Luna Sanas, Palette Lenta, Mason Atlas, Luke Celatrius, Skia Amorphia, Exponen Vadis, Lorelei Musam, Alistair Dominus, Rui Vitrelia, Rex Chromavitus, King Rex Chromavitus, Apollo and Allison, Maxwell Gale, Magnus Sarasol, and Vulcan Pugnos. As for the second set, these are all Cycle of Stars characters, which are primarily Ren's characters. Every time I say that they're Ren's characters, she's like, nah, they're both of ours, but they're Ren's characters. I guess before you go through your characters, I guess a rundown for those of you who don't know what Biblioanima or Cycle of Stars is. So me and Ren like creative writing. We like writing stories. We like writing canons and worlds and universes and all that stuff. And so ideally, we're planning on doing like webcomics and stuff in the future based on all this stuff. And of course, my VTuber lore stems from a lot of the Biblioanima stuff, if not all of the Biblioanima stuff. So all of these characters here for Biblioanima are people that I know in lore, or that are friends of mine, or etc., etc. It is my VTuber lore and eventually a webcomic series and stuff like that. Cycle of Stars is its own thing separate from Biblioanima, and will also hopefully be a webcomic at some point as well. Give me a sec, Ren. One sec. Go over that one more time, Ren.
Was my audio not picking up or something?
Yeah, it wasn't. I fixed it.
Was any of my audio picking up at all?
It was until we swapped to the tier list thing.
I see. So, Cycle of Stars is a collaborative world between Jade and myself. Initially, taking the skeleton of the worlds that I built up ever since, I guess, for the last 6, 7, 8 years. Taking the world and some of the characters and retooling it to soft reboot the series and actually get it off the ground instead of me being in a writing rut of, I like these characters, I'm attached to these characters so much so that I don't know how to do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the characters that are a part of my lore as well. Heroes and champions that have grown throughout the ages and made a name for themselves within the last decade of the Cycle of Stars world. I think that's it.
All right. All right. I like you. I like you a lot. Are you gonna run down the list and kind of say the names?
Mm, do I need to go over like their summary at all or just the
No,
names?
I just went through and did all the names for all of mine. So just that way they have like proper pronunciations and stuff like that. We'll go through
Oh,
who they are once we start breaking down their stats and their move sets and stuff like that.
all right. Well, first of all, we have Ash, we have Ray, we have Belizia Icarul, we have Astra, Borealis, Umbra, Primrose Lepton, Asphodel, Enid, Vanguard, Dreamshade, Balder, Amira, Amisha Narula, and Slevy Rockwell.
All right. All right. So that is, unless we think of any other characters moving forward, like we'll probably come up with one or two fun ideas for characters throughout this. But that's effectively the roster we're working with. We may not get through all of it in this episode of the podcast, but maybe we'll do a second episode as well. I want this episode to kind of land in like a nice hour 30 or so. Some it'll, however far we get naturally. Um but yeah, as for information for some of the characters, we do have a little bit already kind of put down. Like we are basing a lot of this off of like Pokemon Unite terms, just so that way it's easier for the viewer and stuff like that. But we also want to come up with like our own unique terms for everything as well. As for like weapons, it's typically their fighting style. So like what is their primary method of attacking? And then the T5 skin is like what special skin would we give them in a hypothetical T5, for that MOBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we should start with, what do we want the names for the classes to be? So for those unfamiliar with Pokemon Unite or just MOBAs in general, characters typically fall into one of 4 or 5 character classes. Most MOBAs run 5.
5 or 6.
Unite only runs 4, right?
5.
5. And in Unite, you have all-rounders, attackers, defenders, speedsters, and supports. And some even like kind of deviate and mix between the two on occasion as well. So did we have any names we want to use instead of just the Pokemon Unite names for all of these, Ren? I think for all arounder, like generalist would be kind of fun.
Okay. Should we go over what each of the classes are and
take it away?
So, in this hypothetical MOBA of ours, we would just be running the 5 base classes that Pokemon Unite goes with. The all-rounders, which are typically, they're like what, melee classes?
Usually, yes. They're typically melee classes. They're typically bulkier than attackers. And they're typically a character that's designed to like get in, do a lot of damage in short bursts, and then get out really fast.
And then there's the attackers, characters that primarily focus on range and special attack type damage.
If we're talking like League of Legends or something, or like Smite, this would be like the mage class.
Next, we have defenders. They're kind of self-explanatory. They are the big hulky tanks. They have a lot of health and they take little damage, and in turn they kind of deal little damage. they're just damage sponges mostly.
Unless you're playing Blastoise, in which case you do more damage than the entire enemy team while also being able to tank all of it.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have the Speedster class, which they're assassins. They're glass cannons that come in, they deal heavy damage, and get out before they get killed.
Yeah. Assassin is the best way to put it. Glass cannon, very, very weak physically, as in, like, they die incredibly quickly. However, they put out a fuckload of damage and then often have some form of disruption or movement-based ability that allows them to either maybe go invisible or teleport or get the fuck out of combat incredibly, incredibly quickly.
And support is incredibly self-explanatory.
Healers, buffers. That's it.
Reverse healers or shield healers.
Yep. All right, Brigitte. Anywho. But yeah, so like I think for all arounders, like a good in-universe name would just be like generalist. I think that would be, pretty easy to do. Makes sense. Gets the same general idea across.
My headspace is thinking like Final Fantasy freelancer.
Yeah, that could work too. I like it. I like it.
One, sure, it's taken by Final Fantasy, but I feel it's a bit more unique than generalist.
Yeah.
Has a little more character.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. I like it.
Next, we have the attackers.
Attackers? You have any good ideas for this? I have like a lot of gimmicky names that we could do, but
Oh,
like slingers or something.
cute.
Uh-huh.
I don't have anything for attacker right this moment. Want to move on to speedster?
Speedster? Trickster.
Okay.
That's like an easy one.
I was thinking precisionist, but trickster works too.
Yeah.
Trickster, I like it.
Defender. See, I think this one's also kind of a hard one. Cuz like defender is just kind of perfect. Blocker?
I don't think we need one for a defender. I think defender is so all-encompassing, it's in the name already. It's hard to mess with success.
Fair enough. What about support?
Support is tricky because same boat as defender.
Yeah, it's just kind of a little too general. We'll figure that out in the future. You know what? Screw it. We'll figure it out eventually. For the time being, you want to just go ahead and hop on to finishing up some of the T5 skins and the weapons and stuff for now?
Sure.
All right. So as it stands right now, we do have a couple of. We'll do the weapons category next and flesh those out. So for Aelith, her primary fighting style would be her flaming sword. So she has her giant fire, great sword, long sword. And then she does have a combination of like magic, spell slinging, and sword fight, sword combat. Luna uses alchemy. So specifically, she would be using like almost like a I'm sure there's a League of Legends character like this. Like I would be shocked if there wasn't, but like imagine she has just magic vials of like kind of like Ana Overwatch, to where she has these little grenades she throws out. If they hit a teammate, it heals them. If it hits an enemy, it applies a debuff and does a little bit of damage. Palette, she punches people. She rips people with her claws when her ult's active. She hurts people. Mason, he is a combination between a heavy attack, like just a heavy, and a trapper. So he can generate traps around the map, similar to something like Artemis or something from Smite. For those of you who are familiar, while simultaneously being hefty, tanky, and putting out consistent damage, something like almost like Orisa from Overwatch in a lot of ways. Original Overwatch 1 Orisa. I have no idea how she plays now. Luke Celatrius uses a light arrow. Think Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's basically that, except it's made of light, and he can manipulate it in ways that obviously Yondu could never do in that. On top of that, he also fights using portals, which makes him a support. Think Hoopa from Pokemon Unite. Skia, daggers and her cybernetic abilities. So she's very fast. She could blend into the shadows, and she stabs people real good. X-Men Invadis uses his fists primarily for attack, but he's kind of a counter character, to where almost all of his attacks are counter-based, or they are enhanced upon taking damage and then sending that damage back in a lot of ways. But yeah, that's the general gist of him. Lorelei fights with a massive axe that has the ability to unravel people from dimensions. So she relies primarily on debuffing, while simultaneously doing lots of damage and being beefy. By dealing damage to enemies that are, debuffed, she, becomes even harder to kill. Alistair uses his blood bending effectively to be able to produce multiple different weapons out of his own blood. So his entire premise would be he's a tank that sacrifices his own HP in order to amplify and do more damage or change his fighting style. Think of it as like a jack of all trades style character that can swap. We have him marked as a defender, but depending on the build or depending on your play style, you could definitely play this character as an attacker or an all-rounder. He's a character that has multiple flavors that you would be able to swap. Rui is a trapper character that fights with large, almost like Wolverine claws in a lot of ways. But she's like a Craven the Hunter type. She uses lots of traps, lots of preparation ahead of time. Almost think like a melee Teemo in a lot of ways, or like a melee, a lot of different characters kind of fill that role in MOBAs. For Rex, he fights with a massive greatsword with the ability to effectively amplify his speed by dealing damage and specifically using one of his moves. Rex Chromovitus has a unique ability in his sigil that allows him to effectively absorb blood from his enemies to revitalize himself, amplifying his strength, his speed, etc. So, of course, that would play into his play style. Apollo and Allison, the twin lions of Paulette Lenta. They do make an appearance when you're playing Paulette, but there's also an option to just play as them on their own or as a pair. The idea here would be you have both of them and you can control one of them at a time, swap between them at will, and also command the other while you're playing one or the other. So think something like Scotty from Smite, if you are familiar with that at all, or other MOBAs. I'm not sure if League has a similar character. Think a character with a pet, but you can swap to that pet on the fly, and then the original character then becomes the pet. So it's a constant kind of swap game for them. Maxwell is a wind mage, so he's just kind of a general all-arounder. He fights using wind barriers, wind blades, wind, just cutting things with wind. He is very normal in comparison to the rest of the cast. Magnus is the king of Saramore. He fights using a very defensive playstyle, kind of similar in a lot of ways to Lorelei's playstyle, where he prioritizes a lot of debuffs, a lot of stuns, while also having a potential charm effect as well. His ult would revolve around a unique charm effect, unique to him, that would allow him to potentially control or force another player to maybe start attacking their friends. That kind of thing. Vulcan Pugnos is the central Saramoran military chief. And he primarily fights using a wide variety of projectile-based weaponry, be it artificially made projectile weapons like guns or anything, or just straight up cannons that generate magical effects. This is the turret character in a lot of ways, where he creates turrets that deal damage independent of himself. Think Torbjorn or also Vulcan from Smite. Very similar in general concept to this is a strong guy on his own without any real long range ability unless you're using those turrets. As for the next set of characters from Cyclostars, Ren, go ahead and take it away.
All right. First, we have Ash. He is very straightforward. He is more rushed down. He's sort of a mix between all-rounder and speedster. He gets in quick. He does not quite explosive damage. He's a diet speedster. He uses his axe and his fire abilities to get in, deal damage, and that's kind of it. He doesn't have too much going on. His powers, he mostly relies on his axe for dealing damage, but when he does use fire, he is more attuned to using explosive damage and setting things ablaze to deal burn damage over time. Next, we have Ray, who my head just went blank. Ray, she's a fairy girl who is able to create balls of light that she then smacks with her baseball bat to launch at people and deal minor small effects, slowing, general. Jade, I'm bad at this.
So Ray is a baseball character. She can generate orbs of various effects and then melee attack them to become a pseudo ranged fight or a pseudo ranged fighter. Is that correct?
Yes, not too much unlike Luna, where she can bat them towards allies to heal them. She can also bat them at enemies to harm.
All right, all right. I like it. What about Belle? We don't have anything written down for Belle's weapon yet. How does her fighting style operate?
Think Greninja.
Ah, so like shadow clones.
Yes, she's able to duplicate herself to. She duplicates herself to bolster her. Jade, I'm so bad at this. Belle. Belle creates clones of herself by splitting her soul in half to help bolster her damage numbers. By herself, she doesn't have too much beefy damage, but the more she creates clones of herself, the heavier the damage she does, as well as being able to. Part of her inheritance as being a succubus, she's able to steal people's souls a little bit and copy their abilities to a small degree. Not too much unlike Kirby and Smash or the Kirby games, I guess.
See, I have a really good idea for what her ultimate would be.
Oh.
Specifically, my idea for a Belle ultimate is you effectively jump onto a target, be it, specifically an opponent, and effectively rip a portion of their soul out, which then becomes a little minion for you that is basically a soul but ghostly copy of whoever you jump on. So now all of their stats, all their abilities, all their damage is now there helping you fight for a few seconds.
Okay.
Effectively turning your opponent's strongest characters against themselves and their team.
Okay. I like it a lot. Next, we have Astra. She's a Grim Reaper type. She uses her large scythe to have long-ranged melee attacks. She too can create clones, but less for combat and more for uh, movement and psyching out.
In my eyes, she plays a lot like what's his name from Bamboozle Boy, Mirage. She plays a lot like Mirage from Apex Legends. To where the gimmick is she effectively can create two different clones of herself. And those clones will go forward, mimicking her movements, allowing, obviously, yes, they go forward, mimicking her movements. They won't actually do damage per se, but they will take like the auto aim from the game will target them primarily, similar to Greninja's clones as well. But they won't necessarily deal damage. They'll just be quite tanky in comparison. On top of that, it also significantly increases Astra's sight line and sight range, and her various abilities and skills will have to do with that. Similar to what I was saying with Apollo and Allison, Astra will also have a swap mechanic to where you can send these clones out and one ability will keep just summoning them will have them spread out, and then they will follow your direction. They'll mimic your movements. Another ability may send them out in a straight line, so they just do stuff on their own. Another ability would have you swap places with one of them at will.
Mm-hmm. You took words out of my mouth and enhanced them.
It's almost like I play a lot of MOBAs. And I guess first-person shooters. Borealis is up next, right?
Mm-hmm. Borealis is kind of interesting. He's a weapon master that can call out any sort of weapon that he's absorbed and integrated into his person. He can call upon them at will, and he's kind of just a big hulking key monster.
I have a fun idea for him for a gameplay style.
Okay.
So the entire idea of Borealis is he is a template, much like Astra and Umbra. But the difference with him is he's intentionally farmed other templates and stolen them of their parasites, effectively absorbing all of these parasites into himself, each parasite containing a unique ability, superpower, and weapon. So this man is more parasite than template or human being, to the point where he's just kind of a walking abomination. He still looks human enough, but in general idea, he's kind of a walking abomination. Think I hate to bring it up. Think All for One in what do you call it? My Hero Academia, when he like gets that gross ugly arm where he combines like all of his superpowers. Think kind of like that when he goes all out. And I think a fun idea for Borealis' fighting style would be to play into his instability. Given the fact that he's absorbed so many bodies, so many templates, and so many powers, his body is innately kind of unstable. And playing into that, every time he does a skill that, maybe it augments his weapons or maybe it changes his weapon on the fly, regardless, it builds up an instability meter that very slowly decays over time. The higher that instability meter, the larger, stronger, more empowered Borealis' attacks get. The higher that meter is, the stronger he gets. The larger his weapons get, the more fucked up looking the weapons get, the more abomination-like he begins to look, because his body is kind of fighting against what he's trying to do. So he just progressively gets stronger. And the entire playstyle is trying to stay in that sweet spot, getting that heat level or that instability up to a point where you're doing massive amounts of sweeping damage, massive ranged attacks, all of this stuff, without hitting the edge. If you hit that cap, something along the lines of a complete overload could happen. You lose control of your character, you lose control of your body, and maybe they start attacking your teammates. Maybe it starts draining your health immensely to the point where you just basically get one-tapped by anything. There are any number of like negatives that we could do to that, but I just like the idea of making Borealis this kind of like risk and reward style mutation character.
All right. I like it. I kind of didn't have enough for him anyway.
All right,
Umbra. They fight with their parasitic giant arms that stem from their cloak. They are very JoJo. They are very Kenshiro. They are very Ora Ora Mura Mura. They're a punchy person.
Yeah, they're the, if we're talking Pokemon Unite characters, they're
Skeezor
or I was gonna say Machamp. Very big, bulking hands, just wailing on people in these massive aura style, like rapid machine gun punches.
I think their progression path could honestly be either or. They could opt for the bullet punch rapid style, or they could go for the Bayonetta boom.
You're saying Urshifu.
Yes.
Uh-huh. I like it. I like it. Primrose.
Primrose's her main basic attack would primarily use her yo-yo. She has a yo-yo that when she throws it out, it splits open into, having multiple blades that would slash people for a ranged physical attack. But her magic system would be very unique, I think.
Yeah.
And her abilities would, now hear me out, Jade.
All right.
Her abilities would be a deck of cards that are drawn at random. And when you use an ability, it swaps off and a new card is drawn for it, with one dedicated ability to reshuffle her card deck. So when you're playing through her card deck, it's random, but it's a pseudo random. It's a calculatable random.
Mm-hmm.
Say you have like 9 or 12 cards in your deck. The more you cycle out cards by using them, you can guess the probability of, what my next card is going to be. And then if you want, you can reshuffle and bring back all the cards that you already used back into the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I like it. I like it. You almost like launch astrologian from what do you call it? Final Fantasy 14 before they kept dumbing it down forever and ever and ever. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, how about everyone's favorite?
Asphodel. Asphodel primarily fights with his claws. His claws, his poisonous breath, and his ability to lycanthropize.
Mm-hmm. So he's got some shape-shifting stuff in there. He's got some wombo combo stuff in there.
Uh-huh.
All right. All right.
He would primarily be a defender. He has very tanky skin. He has, shark-like resilient skin. But he would also, be a pseudo supporter who can. His whole gimmick is that his poisonous breath, his not like an animal that secretes very toxic secretions that they then spit out into a mist. He's able to do that too, but he's able to sort of manipulate the compounds in that secretion to create a wide range of various effects. Some of them can be, like paralysis. Some of them could be healing. Some of them could be, I don't know, blinding.
The power of blind.
It's honestly debating whether or not he should be a defender or supporter.
I think defender fits. He's more of a debuff based defender, similar to something like with Magnes.
All right.
All right. Next up is Enid, everyone's other favorite, the
Mm-hmm.
girl made of fire.
Mm-hmm. She is extremely rushed down. She is a speedster. She's an assassin. She bolts in. She onslaughts you with her kicks. When she wants to be ranged, she has her finger guns that lets her shoot fire, plasma, electricity, whatever you want to call it, at the enemy. And do you have anything else to add to this?
I like the idea that she's a ricochet fighter.
Okay.
So, as stupid as it sounds, Ricochet from hit animated TV show Mucha Lucha,
Shut up.
to where her primary fighting style is that she can effectively blast herself in a straight line, and anything that it hits and almost pinball ricochets off of it, to where you blast yourself into a wall, you can then use that momentum to bounce off the wall into like another wall or into another player to extend the range of this like full forward blast attack. I like the idea of, in a lot of ways, it turns her into a bullet. And then once you hit someone, it'll stun or, do 1 million different things. And then that gets you into your melee stance, and then you can go in for melee. And then once you disengage, you're back into a ranged stance. So I like the idea of Enid being a stance character, almost,
All right.
with the initiator of that melee mode being that fucking Vulcan shot, that railgun shot of her own body. Think something like honestly kind of like Dragonite in Unite, to where by default Dragonite's actually a ranged character. But then once you activate one of its abilities, it turns into just a straight melee fighter. And I'm talking like Enid's primarily a ranged attacker, but then you activate her alt and then go into that railgun mode, and then she's a fucking melee attacker that does obscene damage.
Hmm.
Vanguard.
Hmm. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
I
Nothing
don't
for
have
Vanguard?
I don't have a whole lot for how Vanguard would. I can see two I can see two primary fighting styles for Vanguard. Uh she would basically be, fuck, what's that class called in 14?
Which one?
The ones with the bits.
The Sage.
Yeah, she would primarily have little bits, little funnels, orbiters flying around her, shooting out lasers to attack people. And yes, a she would be a shield healer. She would be damage prevention. And to a degree, she would also be uh Sombra from Overwatch, where
Okay.
she's just hacker girl who can disable.
I like it.
All right. Next, we move on to Dream Shade. Dream Shade is they're an interesting individual.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even have a picture of Dream Shade or Vanguard in rotation?
I do not.
Do you want them?
You can send me one.
All right. As soon as I load those up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind me, chat. Don't mind me, chat. Why am I calling the listeners chat? This isn't even live.
You don't know.
Babe, you would tell me if this is live, right?
No.
Even
I don't know what you're talking about.
okay. Uh here's this one. And uh shit, you don't even have a picture of like most of these characters. Fuck.
So of course this here will be Dream Shade. We have this character. We have Vanguard right here.
Mm-hmm. See. Um God. Y'all are getting to see unfinished artwork now.
Oh, hell yeah. Exclusive art. Oh my god, it's Ash. Amisha.
Do we have any others? Do I want to reveal Balder?
Uh, that's an up to you kind of question.
Mm, we'll see. For now, I think that's good for now. So we're on Dream Shade now, right?
Indeed.
Um,
So I think at least some of the stuff that we've brainstormed for Dream Shade is that they fight with a tuning fork. Yes.
yes, they have a giant. They have a giant by Biden's, not spear, not trident, Biden's tuning fork. That's they slam on the grounds to create. They slam on the ground to create a large
Reverberation.
reverberation, which they then pitch and modulate to become a almost a siren songstress.
All right. All right. So it's like a musically inclined fighter.
And yes, their fighting style, if you can really even call it that, is almost exclusively music based. Their skills would be supporting allies through soothing melodies, harming allies through it's just Siren Song from Lapras and Unite.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I have some ideas in terms of just balance stuff that we could do with them.
Oh.
Stuff like for the alt specifically, they jam that right into the ground and it creates like an echoing reverberating field. Think of it as like slow smoke turned up to 11. Anything caught in that either they walk into it or that they're caught in it once it goes off are stunned every like half second to the point where they literally just cannot move while it's active.
Hmm. I like it. I like it a lot.
Next up, Balder. It's the boy. It's Baldy's basics in the flesh.
Fuck it. We doing it.
Oh.
Fuck it.
Are you
We
sending me
we
baldy art?
ballin'. Yeah. We ballin'. We baldin'.
You're balding.
You know what? Maybe don't take that one. Maybe don't repeat that one. Maybe don't repeat that out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
There he is. Balder. Or at least, art for Balder. Incomplete art
Mhm.
for Balder.
Mhm.
So, how does Baldy fight?
He has a massive sword that is made out of a very special metal that lets it reform itself. It's primarily a giant fuck off sword that, why didn't I just take a picture of that too? He has a massive fuck off sword that
He's the Bloodborne character.
there.
He's the Bloodborne character. He has a sword that's made out of basically programmable matter, without going into spoilers, that he can manipulate and transform into different weapons at will.
Hmm.
So at one, imagine as part of his standard attack combo, he goes in with a big heavy sword swing. Then it divides into two twin swords, and then maybe into a spear for like the final stab. That kind of thing.
Best way I can describe him is the closest thing I can say is he is the monster hunter from Monster Hunter. He is a heavy weapon person who is adept at multiple weapons that he can just swap on the fly mid combo. Honestly, Monster Hunter from Marvel
UMVC3
Infinite,
or
yeah,
Infinite, yeah.
that is kind of the best way to describe them. He swaps all his weapons out on the fly. He predominantly likes his big, heavy weapons that just eviscerate people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he might throw in a little bit of reality distortion in there as well.
Oh, you know.
As one does.
All right, Amira, mommy dearest.
Hmm. Let me see if I actually have a picture of her.
I don't think you do.
Nothing recent, at least.
Fair. I know you have that
No.
one sketch on your notepad.
Yeah, I'm just need to send it again. She is mommy dearest, of course, to a certain ball of fire.
Mm-hmm. A certain firecracker, if you will.
Hmm. Jade, this is so hard. I don't know how you keep talking for extended periods of time. There she is.
Uh-huh. It's a skill. It's a skill. And this is Amira, mommy dearest.
Hmm.
Don't mind the fact that she doesn't have legs. That's intentional.
Hmm. While Enid is able to shoot her fingers and her body as a projectile, Amira crystallizes her fire and is able to turn it into blades or into pikes that she can launch at people.
Mm-hmm.
She's entirely a range unit. She throws pikes down into the ground to create walls, like a fuck. What's the crab's name?
Crystal
Trestle, yeah.
or Cabrakan from Smite, because they both have effectively the same exact moveset.
And while she may be a defender, her she she closes off corridors. She blocks your exit routes and then comes in for the kill. She is able to create crystalline armor for herself to, you know, help with that defender aesthetic, that gameplay.
Yeah, so she's the waller. She's she's the defender that you do not want to get caught behind the wall for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Amisha.
Pistols.
Pistols, yes.
Uh-huh.
So
What are you typing?
So Amisha is a complicated antagonist.
Uh-huh.
Ren, take it away.
So she's a dominatrix.
Uh-huh.
She has a whip of light energy that normally she has the little baton whip, but using some stolen fairy essence, she can turn it into a whip of light that she can, you know, very safely attack from a range. Or,
Roadhog.
no,
No Roadhog.
more like grapple towards enemies.
Okay.
She gets in there for the kill. She also has claws of light that she uses to, you know, very brutally afflict her targets, her prey, her pets.
So another stance dancer. Got it. All right. And then we have Levy Rockwell, the pirate.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
See if I have any recent pictures of her. Not really. Fuck it, you get an old Ren art.
Ooh, we get old Ren.
I ain't old.
No, you're not.
There you go.
And then here's Pirate Lady.
Mm-hmm. She wields dual.
Lingo.
Shut your mouth. She wields dual sickles that hook around like a hook. Very descriptive, I know.
So she's Roadhog.
Yes, they are chained together. She is all about pulling you closer. She's Roadhog, she pulls you close, and even her normal attacks, instead of slowing you down, they pull you back a little bit.
I have an idea I want to run by you for this.
Uh-huh.
So There's a game that I've played in the past that has a really fun pirate class.
Oh,
And it does something unique that I've never seen done before for a pirate class.
oh.
So, what if I told you instead of Roadhog, what if we did you know how
Are you gonna say bike and
not biking. No. So you know in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, how you like kind of grab on to the walruses in the desert area, right? Like
uh-huh.
you kind of hook on and you can kind of like ride behind them while shield surfing or whatever, you know?
Uh-huh.
So imagine that in a MOBA. The entire idea is you hook onto somebody and you can effectively like slide the circumference around them. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can effectively grapple onto them and then swing yourself in an arc around them, almost like drawing a perfect circle around whatever you connect to. She's less so the roadhog, more so the hyper fast grapple hook character that swings. I think there's a League of Legends character that does it, and I forget what his name is. He's got like a crossbow or something. I remember, but
All right.
I really like that
He's
idea to where he like they
Jade. We're turning her into the web slinger, this
yes
web slinging superhero.
we're turning her into a web slinger. Yes,
Then do you want to make the Dommy Mommy into the Roadhog?
I think that would fit better just because then we don't have two stances like Enid.
All right.
All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. Like it. Like it. All right. So,
Also, I may have come up with some potential names for classes.
oh, pray tell.
All rounders we can have as freelancers. Attackers, how do you feel about strikers?
I like it.
Speedsters are tricksters. And I have a couple of possible names for defenders: bastions, bulwarks, guardians, or sentinels.
I like sentinels.
I had a feeling you would. And there's kind of nothing better for supporter.
Fair. Embracer.
I mean, if you want,
Eh,
if you wish to embrace her.
always. All right. So, I think before we start messing with the stats of the characters, I think we should start working on their move sets.
Yes, I think that is a little more critical.
So, starting from the top, we have
Here,
Aelith. Did you say Aerith?
I said here,
Oh, okay.
and then you interrupted me.
My bad.
So, in our game, we have opted for 3 moves for the characters. Give characters a little bit more depth than Pokemon Unite. Anything to add to that? No? Cool. We bamboozled her.
Uh-huh. All right. So I think we take it from the bottom, actually.
Uh-huh.
So I think for moves, we're looking at Levy first.
All right. And do we want to include the progression?
No, because in most MOBAs it's just stat increases. It's not actual effect changes. Um,
And isn't it technically less debuffs than?
I mean, to be fair, Unite, it's also largely just stat changes too. It's just like, oh, now this move also slows when it hits on top of, doing extra damage. Like,
Not always.
I know. It's just,
Very fair, though. All right.
I think move 1 is just your grappling hook. This is your
Heather.
angler tether. So that would be the move that you throw out. It clicks onto a teammate or an enemy, and that lets you kind of move super fast in a circle around them. Ability number 2. What do you think? What would be a nice complement to that?
Mm. How do you feel about the sort of playing on that Spider-Man aesthetic, the web slinger? I know it's not actually what she is, but she can create a tether between 2 points and create effectively a little barrier. She can create a web between 2 points and create a little weak wall that can be destroyed.
All right. So it creates effectively. She fires one in 2 directions, creating effectively a line similar to fucking Model EVs from Dungeon Defenders, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
Fuck Dungeon Defenders.
Uh-huh. You say that like we literally weren't talking about that game like last week.
That was different.
Uh-huh. All right. So we have the grappling hook tether. We have you're able to throw out like a net effectively. I came up with the idea for the ultimate. So what the ultimate does is it effectively works like Gardevoir's ult in Unite, to where it's effectively just a whirlpool. It's a black hole that sucks anyone within it into a central point and does damage. But I like the idea that, yeah, you could just throw that out. It sucks people in, does damage. But I like the gimmick on top of that, to where if you do that and then you launch and connect to one of the people in it and start circling the whirlpool as fast as you can, it amplifies the damage and the suck.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot.
And mind you, most even traversal abilities in MOBAs typically have to be at least some form of damage dealing, usually. Angler's Tether in particular does damage over time while it's active. And on top of that, the wire itself is pseudo electrified in that if there's 3 enemies all hooked, like all kind of relatively close, and you hook onto the one in the middle, if you just start swinging in a circle like fucking Pokemon Ranger, every time one of those fucking characters get hit by the line will do damage to them.
Yeah.
All the while she's swinging, she's fucking shooting at the people in there, similar to something like, honestly, she plays kind of similarly to Dragapult in a few ways, to where like the gimmick is she's just circles people while firing at them and they can't do anything. So we have the net. What about a third ability?
Hmm. Thinking something with like maybe a crab cage.
I mean,
Um,
that could be fun.
I don't feel like she's quite the trapper character though.
No, no. I like that a lot of her abilities are area denial or movement based.
Hmm. I mean, we could just give her straight up an attacking move where she spins herself in a cyclone and her chain hooks spin around her. Give her a lariat. But I feel like that's an easy answer.
I don't care. I don't want to write descriptions for all of these. Um
I'll go back afterwards and do it.
okay. Um for her level 3, ooh, this one would play into that's kind of fun.
Hmm?
She, similar to the net where it's like firing 2 points at one another, like on walls or something to create that wall. What if for the level 3, I mean, I guess this could just be usability for the second ability, but what if she fires at two separate people and it effectively wires them together like Biken and forces them to like stick together?
I mean, that's kind of what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
I think that could just be a secondary use of the net.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. What to do, 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 what to do.
This is a toughie.
It is.
Quick, Jade, you just played the the incredible web slinging hero game.
Mm-hmm.
What Spitterman abilities could you think of?
I got it.
Venom. Nothing. All right. I'll see myself out.
Her level 3 is a complementary ability to where wherever there is a line currently, be it from Angler's Tether, Fisherman's Net, or Whirlpool's Embrace, if she activates this, it effectively pulls her into it. And the the faster you're spinning around the target while pulling yourself in, it effectively is wrapping them up with the net or with the wire, doing extra damage the closer you get, while simultaneously, if you get 80% all the way through and then disconnect, it'll fucking wrap them up and CC them for a given a few seconds.
All right.
So that way it gives her movement ability, her area denial, her stun, and her ultimate. Sound like a plan?
Yeah. I like it a lot.
All right. Amisha. what do you want to do with Amisha? We'll come back to Amisha because I don't even have any good ideas for her right now. Let's do since we did one character from Cycle, let's do one Biblioanima character, and let's do Magnus. So I already had the idea for his ultimate. His ultimate would be Sarah Moore's Curse, which would be you effectively attack a target and take over their body temporarily, allowing you to obviously take over their body and attack their teammates and all of that good stuff. Think of it as almost very Spy TF2 like, to where your opponents would just see you. They would see you as your teammate. Like, there would be no indication that they're coming to kill you until they actually start attacking you. Granted, they're able to fight back, and if they do enough damage back, it knocks you back to your body, while also simultaneously, if they find your body, they can kill you while you're in it. Almost like a true puppeteer character.
All right.
So this would be great as like oh, you're jungling and someone comes behind, someone's trying to back cap or something, and you go meet them there, kidnap their body, and then go to fucking Rayquaza or something,
Yeah. So, Zoroark.
Kinda, except instead of transforming into them, you're actually playing them.
I see. Okay.
For his level 1, it would be Death Spiral. Effectively, he would generate a field around him for like a few seconds. Think something like the Whirlpool attack from Lapras. It's an AoE around him that just does damage over time and applies a slow debuff.
Okay.
His second would be a Frontal Cone ability that effectively allows him to emit. It effectively emits an AoE in front of him that specifically does damage over time, and it weakens their attack power. Because the whole gimmick of Magnes is debuffs. And a gimmick of Sarah Moore's Curse would be the more active debuffs the target has on them when Sarah Moore's Curse is active, all of those debuffs become buffs for Magnes. And then the final level 3 ability would be Ruler of Curses, which does two things. When activated, it buffs Magnes's standard attacks, like his basic attacks, causing those basic attacks to do effectively one of 3 random debuffs. So like a burn debuff, a poison debuff, or like a paralysis debuff. Any of those causes all your basic attacks have a random chance of applying those, And it also amplifies your damage to any target with active debuffs on them. How does that sound?
It sounds like a lot to keep track of.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of characters like that in various MOBAs.
Maybe my brain too small.
No, never.
It's probably one of those things that's in gameplay. It's once you actually see it, it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of icons next to their health bar. That means activate button.
I like it.
Let me see if there's any other ones I can knock out like real quick. Vulcan Gun would be the second ability for Vulcan. That is what places down his turret. Commander of Cannon does it basically just specifically, it's almost like whistle, target that one specific target, and it does a similar thing to Ruler of Curses, to where it calls all of your active turrets, you can have up to 2, all to start firing on one specific target, regardless of how far away they are. So they turn into like little mortar strikes almost, which can be pretty easily dodged because they would have like a, almost like a Final Fantasy 14, like this is where the AoE is falling, or like a Mewtwo XY situation where this is where the AoE is about to hit you, get out fast kind of situation.
Yeah.
So it would call all of the cannons to fire on that location or on that player for like, maybe 3 shots a piece. And would effectively I think that's all it needs to do for the ult. That's it commands everything all at once, and then you do extra damage to the called target for like 5 seconds. The level 3 would be Cannonball. It is effectively a movement ability, surprisingly enough. If you are within range of a turret, and this would be a pretty substantial range, you can effectively teleport to the cannon and fire yourself out of the cannon like another mortar strike, similar to Commander of Cannons. So we're like, this is specifically almost in reference to Starhawk. Fucking all things, because there is a the thing in Starhawk is whenever you start an online multiplayer game, you're like dropping in like in fucking some of those Halo missions where you're like in a drop pod like crashing to Earth, and that's like whenever you revive, all of that stuff, it's always like you're crashing in from orbit. Think of it like Titanfall, but in that game there is because that game's like almost like it's like a tower defense almost, where it's a tower defense third person PvP shooter. There's a cannon that you can build with the base building mechanic that lets you jump inside of it and fire yourself out of it in one of those drop pods. And that would effectively be what this is. It allows you to cross significant ranges by turning yourself into the projectile. Full Metal Body would be his level 1, and this would effectively be it amplifies his defenses. It makes him tankier, so when he goes into combat and melee range, he doesn't take as much damage. You can multiply, or you can combine this with Cannonball to when it fires you, if Full Metal Body is active when you land, it fucking does like an explosive, blast on impact that extends the range significantly and prevents it from doing damage to yourself. Is there anything else you can think of, Ren?
I'd say we could do one more character real quick, but
Yeah, let's do
quick is subjective.
Let's do one more. Enid, we actually had pretty much locked down. If you want to just do Enid's real fast.
Sure.
All right. So the ultimate. Are you okay with that ultimate idea that I had?
Yeah. Babe, you're far more well versed in MOBA than me.
I don't know how to. I don't know what to name it.
Run it down one more time real quick.
So effectively, you charge up and blast ahead in a straight line like a rail gun. If you hit anyone or any wall, you'll effectively bounce off of it, ricocheting, keeping that momentum. And if, for example, in Unite, you know how like the top and bottom lanes have those walls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine firing yourself into one of those walls and then ricocheting into the other one, amplifying your speed, and then ricocheting into the other one, and then ricocheting right into a target. The more ricochets you get, the more damage you do. And then that's when once you come out of that mode, you have like 10, maybe 15 seconds. Balance is something that I'm not great at. But then that would be her melee mode. It would swap her to melee stance.
All right.
Railgun punch.
Nah.
Railgun roundhouse. No. No puns. Okay.
I'm thinking. How about Gauss Rifle Blitz?
Gauss Body Blitz. Yes or no?
My mind is just thinking of stupid jokes now.
I mean, I want the names to kind of be,
His name is Keeg.
Keeg. God damn it. Hunting rifle?
Fuck.
What?
It's such a stupid name.
Say it.
Faster than light.
Yeah. FTL. All right. So, what would Enid's level 1s, 2s, and 3s be? I'm of the mind, honestly, I'm kind of the mind that we make Enid like a Blaziken style character.
2 move sets.
Yes.
All right. So her
ultimate would be what stances are, just like Blaziken. So you'd effectively dash in with the faster than light and go into melee mode. And then once it charges back up while you're in combat, you can then use it again to get the fuck out of combat.
All right.
So the gimmick with Enid would be not only being able to aim efficiently and get in, but also doing enough damage quickly enough to where it recharges and then you can get out before you get absolutely ganked. So move 1 in firing stance. I think this one would be line rifle. This would be basically Intellion's sniper shot.
All right. All right.
And then in melee, this would be effectively like a wide arcing super kick.
Like a Tatsu, like a spin kick, or
it would be like a 180 degree in front, like wide kick, almost like a not a clothesline, but
bless you.
Or we just make it a rocket kick. Like Blaziken's fucking blaze kick.
Sure. You know what? Since this one is move 1 is primarily focused on linear travel path attacks.
Yeah. Move 2 is the get out of jail free card. So I think for ranged, this is like a shotgun blast. This is a shotgun blast that effectively blasts Enid backwards. That allows her. It works as an escape and as a stun, or like a slow primarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Buckshot.
And then in melee, it would effectively be the same thing, as in like she would also be jumping back again, but it's almost like she runs up to somebody and like kicks off of them, doing a bunch of damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then finally, for move number 3, this one has to be the AoE, I think.
This one is I'm thinking very Devil May Cry, spins around or just shoots in directions all around her.
Okay. And then in melee, I think, well, yes, it would be a spin mechanic in the ranged mode. I think more so it would be like a scatter shot, effectively, to where she effectively fires like it's got like 3 charges, similar to something like Urshifu, where in ranged mode it's like a like one for you, one for you, one for you kind of thing, where you fire it one person, one person, one person.
Yeah.
Whereas in melee mode, it's much like Urshifu, where it's like a dashing punch, dashing punch, dashing punch for like a 1-2-3 combo.
All right.
I half want to call that move like sizzling 6 skills or something, as like a Devil May Cry reference. Smoking sexy style. But yeah, how does that sound for Enid?
I like it a lot.
All right, all right. We basically have just designed Enid as the character I want to play, as what I wish Blaziken was.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, that is going to be the end of our little podcast for tonight. Like I said, I don't have a ton of time tonight because I have work in 6 hours. So lovely. Thank you, Ren, for being here as always. Thank you for getting us to do the new episode of the podcast.
But of course.
And I will see all of you guys in the next episode where, eventually we'll continue this.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.